welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ on
And
this miserable rainy day.
It's Wednesday in the Riv, and looks like we're going to have some possible torrential rains and high winds. So everybody, get your flashlights and your candles, and be careful with the candles, especially. But get everything ready. We may have this. They say we may have some power outages, but we've got some stuff to talk about. A lot of stuff to talk about, obviously, nationally and locally. So let's start locally. Our sources told us that we had both Colin Dias and Kevin Aguirre on the We Suck at Radio today, complaining about the dictator, Coogan, deciding that he doesn't want them to get information that they need. And it was also stated that the superintendent was overwhelmed by the emails because she's been asked to do her job and provide information to school committeemen. So that's right. Amazing, huh? Yeah. And she's only got 6 assistant superintendents?
That's it, just about 6.
And then they wanted to make a deputy superintendent too. You think somebody might be able to answer questions about how they blew all kinds of money? They overspent, but Coogan and Kevin Aguirre, I guess, was complaining, and as was Colin Dias, that every time Coogan doesn't want to give him any information, he runs to Runaway Rumsey and gets a legal opinion. So let's get this right out of the gate. Let's get this straight. Rumsey is not the Supreme Judicial Court. He's just another hack lawyer that's working for the mayor, not for the people of Fall River, who fashions opinions to support whatever the mayor wants to do. That opinion was bullshit. He said that these people are not entitled to the information. They have to do a regular request for information. And so it's crazy because that's not true. He's a lawyer, and he should know that. Okay, I've gone to the city council numerous times and given them the copies of case law that clearly states that people who are fiduciaries have an obligation to check numbers in depth. As a matter of fact, the case law clearly states that they have to go beyond what was just given to them. As a matter of fact, I remember it. I can pull it and I can show it to you, but you've seen it before. It says they have to have a critical eye. They have to examine the numbers. And public fiduciaries have a greater responsibility than regular fiduciaries. They're only blowing the money of the investors. Public fiduciaries are dealing with taxpayer money. These people were elected to represent the people of Fall River. And there are only 2 of them there that do their job fundamentally. Colin and Kevin. And they're constantly impeded by Coogan and the rest of the bobbleheads. They have a right to those numbers. They do not have to file a request like a regular citizen. They are our agents and substitutes. Does that sound familiar? It's from the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and answerable to us at all times. How can they answer to us about how we spend money if they don't get the numbers, if they don't get information? And for the superintendent, the clown show like Biden's got in Washington, they can't get anything done. The clown show, another superintendent who's overwhelmed. She's making $200,000. She's got 6 assistants. And she said she's getting too many emails. I get 100 emails a day.
So do I.
So don't give me that crap. You're getting paid to do it.
You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of the school committee meeting where Colin Dias asked for the contracts.
Yep.
And Paul said, you don't need the contracts because you're going to vote against them anyways. That's his right to see the contract.
You're right. And it's his right to vote against it. It's not a reason not to show him a collective bargaining agreement.
That's right.
As a matter of fact, he has a right as the elected official, as an elected official, to see that contract, to examine that contract.
And on the mold issue, if you remember correctly, Ken Pacheco said that he had the work done. It wasn't sent out to bid. He said it was an emergency. That's why he didn't have to send it out for bid. And when he was asked how much it cost, he said, I don't know. And Colin asked for the invoices. And Paul again said, you don't need the invoices. It was an emergency. It had to be done. Doesn't matter how much it costs.
Yes, it
Only
does.
our tax dollars.
Yes, it does. And as you said, there you go, CJ. Again, speaking logic and the truth. We have a right to know. I don't give a shit if it was an emergency. The fact is you spent our money. Did you just say it was an emergency? It wasn't an emergency because it went unresolved for years. It got you. They didn't get that way overnight. I still have the pictures. Oh boy, here we go. Look, I always keep them close when we have this show because we always get back to these things.
Yep.
That's one of the ducks. Here's another one. Here's another one. You think it got that way overnight? It's an emergency. It's an emergency because Ken Pacheco didn't do his job. They never do their job. They don't maintain anything. And the reality is, what does he get for it? A $15,000 pay raise. And Paul Coogan is 100% wrong. He denies everybody information that he's mandated to do. So I'm going to suggest to Colin and Kevin, don't look. I know you're upset. You go on the radio and complain. File some complaints. Go to the state and complain.
Ask the state auditor to come down to Fall River and look over the books, baby. Look over the books.
Yep. I mean,
because she'll go anywhere. She will go anywhere. And I want to see them look over the books at the school department. I can see Paul saying, oh, you don't have the right to do it. Oh, yes, she does. Oh, yes, she does. And it's about time that they hold him accountable. Let's find out where all that money's going.
Talk about a dictator. I know you called him a dictator at the city con, and he is a dictator. I mean, who the hell ever heard of that? You got those people are fiduciaries, Paul. I know you walked around for 30 years with your hands in your pocket and your head up your ass. And now you got power. This is the problem when you get some guy who's never been in charge of anything, always been a subordinate. The best he could ever do is be a vice. Never a principal, never in charge of anything. And you give him power. You remember the old saying, power corrupts, absolute power corrupts absolutely. This guy is, he makes the DOJ, he makes the FBI and all the machinations they have pulled look like nothing. This guy has locked the city down. He's an absolute dictator. You don't need to see a contract. You're a school committee person voting on a contract. You don't have to look at the numbers. That's an absolute lie. As a matter of fact, you have a legal obligation to look at those numbers, to examine those numbers before you vote on those numbers. This is outrageous. This is outrageous. This is like the mafia is running the city. You don't get to know anything. Shut up. Let me raise your water bills, your taxes, and everything else. Just shut up and pay. You don't get to know anything.
Died.
Yeah. You're not entitled to know anything. I said, and that was the, see, talk about inappropriate affect, illogical shit. You're just going to vote against it anyway.
That's right.
Well, you know something? He's right. But it's not anyway. I would vote against every single thing that came in front of the school committee just because I couldn't see the numbers. Because to vote for something that you haven't seen the numbers on, you're abdicating your requirement to be a fiduciary. Every one of those bobbleheads and kiss asses on that school committee are violating their oath of office. They are not acting as fiduciaries. They're acting as rubber stamps. And remember that video we played on the last show of that woman? What did we say when we ran that video? It's Fall River. How did she open? I've been coming to these meetings for 5 years, and for 45 minutes, all you do is tell each other how great you are and what a great job you're doing. And you got the chief obsequious sycophant in charge when somebody questions Kenny Pacheco for not having a number. You're in charge. You don't care. It's the taxpayers' money. You don't care how much it costs. It was an emergency. Who gives a shit? Well, we do. I just got my water bill. It went up again. I give a shit. It's my money that's paying that bill that he doesn't give a shit about. This is what you got for a government? You got 12,000, 14,000 people showing up. Let's pull a Trump election in the next election and boot all these people out. You want to complain about how much your water bill is? You want to complain about how big your tax bill is? This is why. This is why. You're going to have the chief obsequious sycophant in charge saying, shut up, Kenny's beautiful. He's the most wonderful person in the world. He's the greatest human being we've ever seen. He's wonderful. He's great. Sure he is. Give him a $15,000 pay raise instead of firing his ass. And then your kids can get a job in the school department too. Back to you, CJ.
You know, it never ceases to amaze me how many times we've spoken about these same things over and over and over because they keep coming up. We don't do it because we have nothing better to talk about. We do it because it keeps coming up.
Yeah.
It keeps coming up. And my
you wonder why
question
we
is,
run out of money?
And my question is, and I said it in the weekend flush, how much city money is being used for the holiday parade and the holiday celebrations? How much city money is being used for that? I'd like to know. Wait a minute. You can't know that. You have to file a formal request. Well, I'm a citizen, so yeah, maybe I do have to file a formal request, but I have a right to know. I know you gave them $70,000 for a parade that never happened. Where'd that money go? Where'd that money go? I want to know. Well, not that hard to ask.
Yeah, but you don't get to ask the dictator. You don't get to ask the dictator, CJ. Nobody has a right to know. Why should we know how they're spending our money? See, that's what they're telling you. Shut up and just keep giving us your money. And everybody on this school committee and city council who rubber stamp everything this dictator does is responsible and they are malfeasant. They are not doing their duty. They were elected to be fiduciaries. The school committee and the city council are the fiduciaries of this city. They're the ones who appropriate the money. And they're not doing their job. Yeah,
I agree, David. They never have any.
well, that's true. But as that woman said down in North Carolina, they spend most of their meeting telling each other how great they are and how wonderful everything is. Well, guess what? We've been spending money hand over fist since Coogan got in. We don't have any money, but he keeps giving out money, and then he stifles anybody like Michelle Dion on the city council side, and Kevin Aguirre and Colin Dyers on the school committee side that wants to ask any kind of questions about how the taxpayer money is being spent, and that is illegal. And Rumsey's full of shit, and that opinion is full of shit. I got case law up the wazoo that says they have to look at the numbers. They are required to look at the numbers. That's their fiduciary job. That's the most important job they have. And for Coogan is taken over. This is like the mafia.
I thought David Shanks Monacchio died.
That's right. We thought that was it, but we got
we got a new Don in town.
Yeah, Cooganacchio.
That's it.
But again, we talk about how these people are just have no ability. The stuff they try to sell you, all you got to do is just look at that. We transfer over to look what's happening with the CEO. You know that this guy. We got people actually making him a hero for shooting somebody. These people are crazy. They have a double standard. You can't call them the wrong pronoun, but they can kill you. And they're going to applaud him. They got T-shirts for him and everything. These people are nuts. I mean, we got, and look at, yeah, that's all they do. You're right. But you look at what they've done. They vilified a guy who was protecting people on a subway. Now they want to murder him. A guy who was, and that now they've ascended the guy who got strangled. And I don't see anybody. It's a tragedy that he had to die. But the man had 41 criminal counts against him. He was mentally ill, and he was out on the street. If you want to blame somebody, blame the government for not having that individual in a treatment center where he belonged. No, they let these people out on the street. But
Colin
they
just joined us. Colin, we were talking about you being on WSAR. If you would like to make any comments about what you said, please make them, and I'll be more than happy to post them so people can see
please.
Them.
But you look at what they're doing. They got Black Lives Matter who wants to scam money from everybody, saying go choke people out. That's right. He is a credit to the electoral process. I'm glad that he got in. He's
a thorn in Paul Coogan's side, though.
It just goes to show why you've got to put people in. Colin ran a few times, came very close, but he didn't get in. Because everybody said, well, it's theory. Everybody says they're going to do this and do that. But then every once in a while, you get somebody that gets in there like Colin got in. And now he shows it wasn't just talking the talk. It was walking the walk. He's doing the people's business. He's asking questions. He's not getting any answers most of the time, but he's doing what he has to do. No, somebody was talking. I think it was Kevin. I think the call I got, Colin, was I think Kevin Aguiar was on, and I think they ran something from you that you may have said previously about something. I don't listen to We Suck at Radio. I confess I don't listen to that thing because I don't have any more hair to lose. If I listen to them, I lose hair, but from listening to their insanity. But this is the problem. You know, you're doing your job, Kevin. Congratulations to Kevin and Colin for both of you asking the questions. I think it's got to go farther. You've got to demand the answers. I will give you the case law. I will show you the case law. I've sent it to the council. Yeah, well, yeah, I think that's doable, CJ. We can have you on, right, CJ?
We can set him up anytime.
Yeah, we can set
I can
you up.
get him on this show right now.
we can set you. If you want to. Yeah, I mean, if you want to come on Friday, we'll have more time since we've already exhausted 21 minutes. Time flies when you're having fun. But yeah, you can come on Friday if it's doable, or next week we can work something out. Oh, we'd love to have you on. We'll bring him on. We'll bring Paulie on. Paulie wants to come on. We'll skewer him.
He says he can do Friday.
Okay, we'll see. You will. Okay, that's great. We will send. CJ will send you a link, and we will have you on Friday, and you can speak at length. This is great because listen, everybody's complaining, but this is why we say Colin got the opportunity to prove whether he was just talking or he was going to do the job, and he's doing the job. And
Yes, and
he deserves to be rewarded by being reelected again, because he's shown that he's trying. But I'll tell you, it's kind of trying to like change the rules against Saddam Hussein, because we've got a dictator who's violating the law. We've got a corporation council who's ignoring the law at the cost of the taxpayers of the city of Fall River and at the children in our educational system. We can't continue to do this. That thing we ran from North Carolina, that woman was absolutely awesome. And she made it very, very clear. Our sole purpose should be to educate our children, and all they do is tell each other how great they are. And this is a problem because we are going to suffer the result of Paul Coogan's administrations, plural. He spent money like a drunken sailor. He continues to just let money be wasted. And I know Colin and Kevin have looked into these things.
he abused
They've blown all kinds of money. And the irony is, the thing that makes me crazy is they're blatant about it. They'll just tell you, we pissed away money. We misspent money. So what? Get over it. That's right. You're right, Colin. Well, yeah, working collectively when you have politicians whose sole interest is their own agendas is difficult, but you're right.
Colin, I have a suggestion for you, and I've been saying this for a while. You might want to get a hold of the state auditor and ask her to come down to Fall River and audit the school department's books. She'll come. She's already said it. She'll go anywhere. She wants to audit the state house. She wants to audit the state house and the state senate. Good. Do it. Call her down to Fall River. Let's make our books open to the public. Paul doesn't want that. And I'll guarantee you he fights it tooth and nail.
File an ethics complaint.
Let me ask you something. Why the hell did Paul Coogan go to Rumsey for the school department? They have an attorney. He's called Bruce Assad. If we don't need Bruce Assad, let's get rid of him so we can save that money.
He's only been there 100 years.
Exactly.
No, they should actually look into filing an ethics complaint against Coogan, and also file something with the state attorney general on a legal basis on malfeasance, because it is clear. Everybody knows what most people know what malfeasance, misfeasance is, especially with a public official. They're not doing it. He's not allowing you to do your job. It is clear. Yeah, you still do. Well, why would you need a copy, Colin? You're only a school committeeman.
Yeah, it's not like a matter.
Why would you think that as a a sitting representative of the people, that you would be entitled to a copy of something that has a direct impact on your office? How silly. You're a silly, silly person. How dare you ask the dictator in charge for anything? Because it's our job as citizens to shut up and keep paying, and it's your job as an elected official to shut up and just do whatever Paul tells you to do. That's the way the city of Fall River is being run. Now, you know my background. I have a very long background in collective bargaining. I still can't figure out how he got away with negotiating contracts with one brother in charge of the management side and the other brother in charge of the labor side. His brother shouldn't even see Fall River after what he did in his city. Let alone be bargaining collectively in this city. And shame on AFSCME, that pathetic excuse for a union, that dues collection agency, to send him back to a city where he was run out on a rail because he used his union position for his own gain. That union is a disgrace. Yeah, well, yeah, you're right, Colin, and that's against the law. You have a right.
I'd go to the attorney general with that.
Yeah, well, I got the case law for him. I'm going to send Colin.
Yeah, no, but I would go to the attorney general with that, and I would say, look, he wants me to pay for documents which are my right to review, and he wants to make us wait. File the ethics complaint directly against Paul and directly against Alan Rumsey. File those ethics complaints. Make them pay. It's time that this bullshit stop and that he understands he works for the people. He doesn't work for himself. He doesn't work for his banker friends. He doesn't work for his developer friends. He works for the people. And as soon as he learns that, the better off he'll be. Screw your bloody Christmas concerts. Okay, Paul? Do your job.
Well, Rumsey's opinion is arguably the worst legal opinion. Shows that I don't know how. I think he didn't he go to Brown like Sunday?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, it shows the uselessness of having a attorney, because all they do is write opinions that are absurd. So you have a fiduciary obligation by law, by statute. It says you are our substitutes and agents by the Constitution. That I have case law up the wazoo that says that you have to look at the numbers. It's your job. You do not need to send a FOIA request in. You're a public official. You're elected to do that job. Anytime you spend a penny of the taxpayers' money, it is your fiduciary duty to look into that, to examine it in depth. That's one of the legal opinions. And on Friday, I'll have them all here. I'm going to send you some copies, not all of them, because I got a boat. I've got a truckload of them.
I was going to say, you got to back up the truck?
Yeah, I got to back up the truck. I got so much case law on this stuff. And that's the insanity of this, though, CJ. You know, we're laughing to keep from crying. But this city has allowed itself to be taken over fundamentally by a dictator.
Yeah.
And they're allowing him to do whatever the hell he wants and tell everybody to just shut up. You don't get the vote. You just vote blindly. You're actually being malfeasant. You're not doing your job. If you vote on something and you don't have sufficient evidence that that is the correct way to spend the taxpayers' money, you're violating your oath of office and your duty. And for him to block you, and for a lawyer to tell you that you don't have a right when you're an elected official and a fiduciary, he better go back to law school. Just like the other lawyer that we had for this, he's not a lawyer anymore. He's saying that you don't have to listen to the people. Ignore them. Well, he got schooled on that one. He said,
yes, he did. Yes, he did. I was there.
But apparently the point wasn't taken because Rumsey still hasn't figured that out. Where is your ethics? I thought lawyers are supposed to have a canon of ethics. Where is your ethical obligation to try to at least understand the law that you're making an opinion on? You're going to tell me that a public official who is going to spend city money doesn't have a right to look at the numbers that what was the way we arrived at that expenditure? You're really telling me that? You're really telling me that? No wonder you went out to dinner. We had the text when you were going to go out to dinner with Paulie. We saw those texts, didn't we, CJ?
Yes, we have.
When you were making dinner arrangements, right after you went and said, I'm everybody's corporation counsel. I'm the people's counsel.
Not as far as I'm concerned. And if you remember, this goes back to when Liz was corporate counsel or assistant corporate counsel for the city. The city council wanted to file a complaint for malpractice and ethical violations with the Board of Bar Overseers. And the Board of Bar Overseers sent back an opinion that said they work for the mayor. Therefore, they don't have standing. Which you and I know is bullshit.
Yeah.
The taxpayers paying for them.
Hey, you know something? Did you read this comment by David? He just coined a great phrase. I know it's probably a typo, but we can now change the name. Not because the way he's running his city, it's not Fall River, it's Paul River.
That's right, it's Paul River.
Well done, David. Well done. Paul River. That's what we live in now. We don't live in Fall River anymore. We live in Paul River. But this is outrageous. I mean, it's just you can't. You got people trying to do their job, and look, it's frustrating as hell for these people. I understand how Michelle feels to be the lone voice. I understand how frustrating it is for Colin and Kevin to be there, shoveling manure against the tide. But they're there and they're fighting, and kudos to them for doing that. But the reality is that you have to reward them for doing what they're doing by giving them some help. You got to get out to vote because we're all tired of living in Paul River. I like that one. I'm going to use that one a lot.
You're going to use that a lot. I can tell already.
Paul River. Yes, yeah. I'm telling you. That's it. Now we're going to give you credit. You're getting editorial credit for that one.
That's
David.
right. That's right.
You renamed the city in honor of our dictator.
Well, in Syria, they just got rid of a dictator. They sent him to Russia. Paul always told us to go to Russia. Hey, Paul, go to Russia. That's where the dictators go.
Well, didn't one of his pals that he covered up for, Malone, tell everybody that didn't like what he was doing to go to Russia?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, that's a standard thing. But, well, we got Friday. We're gonna hit this hard. We're gonna have some case law. But see, that's the irony. Case law doesn't matter to these people. They ignore the law, and that's the tragedy. That's why we have to hit them at the ballot box, because we don't have the money to go to the Supreme Court every time they screw up.
And I'd like to make a suggestion. And we brought it up already that Colin and Kevin Aguirre should already go to the state auditor requesting an audit of the school department's books. I suggest that every person who watches this show send a letter or an email to the state auditor demanding an audit of the Fall River School Department budget and an audit of the Fall River budget, period. All the spending of its money. Let's find out where this money's going. Let's have an truly independent person come in and do it. Bump can't be bought. We're not paying the fees. But after she's done, I'm going to tell you now, the school department and the city should be hit with the costs, and they should have to pay it.
Yeah,
I'm tired of this.
Let's hope somebody hits the Powerball so we can actually do it, because they need to be sued. Because the sad part about this is this is their tactic. They try to.
We don't care. We get ridiculed for everything.
Yeah, we get it. We get accused. Well, look, who cares? Because that's their MO. But see, the sad part about this is that even if we prove that they're wrong on the audit, they're still going to continue to do what they do because there's no consequences. Just like now, Paul knows that he can't. Rumsey's got to know, and if he doesn't, he should just go get a job at McDonald's next to Kamala. That opinion is bullshit. It's totally wrong. It's telling somebody. It's like telling the president of the bank that he's not supposed to look at the numbers of his bank. I mean, it is just mind-boggling how these people can just run amok, and they're going to still do it. I mean, look, Ken Pacheco got a $15,000 pay raise when he admitted he screwed up. So if you do something right, what do you get? A $40,000 pay raise? I don't know.
No, you don't get a pay raise at all. You get put on the cut list.
It's crazy, but you look at the way these people operate. They have a dual standard of everything. Like I said, they vilify a guy who tried to protect people on a subway. They're calling BLM wants to choke him out, and they make everything about race. It wasn't. It was about a guy trying to hold back somebody who belonged in an institution. You can blame the government for that. Had 41 criminal convictions, had serious mental issues, had synthetic marijuana in his bloodstream, was threatening to kill people, and they're vilifying. Yeah, and they're vilifying him as a vigilante, and they take a guy who shoots a CEO of a healthcare company who was, I heard today, I was watching some national news and they were going through his background. The man was a big supporter of Special Olympics. He did a lot of community service. Well, you don't agree with the healthcare company. A lot of us don't like the healthcare system. But the Democrats now say it's okay to shoot somebody that you don't like, but you can't shoot somebody they like, because then you're going to be hung like
That's
Penny did, that because of his color. They always use the race card to do that, and BLM's going to try to now leverage some more money so they can buy some more houses with the money they get. This is all baloney, but it shows the double standard that these people have. You can't do things this way. You can't. There was a woman laughing about this guy being murdered and saying, well, and Piers Morgan actually said, what? He said, what the F is wrong with you? He said, laughing about someone being murdered, and said, well, you think people should just murder people? Well, they do. That's the problem. They do. They think it is totally justified. They can't be murdered. You can't
I
call
need to interrupt you for a second. Thank you, Colin. I'll be looking for it. He said he sent me an email, so I'm going to be looking for that. Sorry for interrupting.
That's good. I've got the copy of the school committee meeting. I was watching it last night, and it's horrifying. I mean, watching these people operate is horrifying. I mean, especially somebody who had to deal with meetings that were run by strict parliamentary procedure. You know, you go to a union meeting. How long do you think you're going to last as president of the union if you go to the union and tell everybody, just shut up, I'm going to do what I want? You're not going to last too long, because the body speaks and the president has to defer to the body. People used to say, well, you're the president of the union. And I said, yeah, I am. I'm kind of the guy that directs us and makes suggestions, but that's all they are. Because the union is the final say. The union members, they vote. You have to do what they tell you. And Paul Coogan does not listen to the people or even his own committee. This is wrong. This flies in the face of our constitutional republic. And it's horrifying to watch that meeting, to see somebody totally disregard their sworn duty and say, shut up and vote. You don't get to see the numbers. I don't have to show you the numbers. He's a madman. I mean, when I ran a union, there were a few times I made a recommendation, they didn't follow it. Well, then we lived with it, because the body is the soul. When you get a collective bargaining agreement, what did Paul Coogan do? He sent a letter, I was just looking at it this morning, in violation of the law, to try to get the city council to block it because he lost an arbitration. But when you resolve a collective bargaining agreement, doesn't it have to go back to the body to be ratified? Of course it does. The bargaining committee signs a tentative agreement. The body, just like if the school teachers get a contract, their bargaining committee can say yes, but they have to bring it back to the body. This is the way this country is supposed to work. And in Paul River, I'm using that a lot. I like it. In Paul River, it's whatever Paulie wants. We don't need to. He gives us a giant finger all the time. And when people who we elect to represent us, not that I ever voted for anybody else on that committee, because I would never, You know, I would vote for some of them to be court jester if we had a position like that in the city. They could be elected court jester, but to be elected to represent the people, that's an oxymoron. So, I mean, but we look at what these people, you know, you look online and it's like I said, selling T-shirts for this guy who killed somebody, making him a hero, talking about how we should get the person who ratted him out. Listen, nobody fights with healthcare companies more than CJ and I. CJ's always fighting with Medicare because that's what he does. He advocates for people. I'm always fighting with healthcare companies because I'm the PEC rep for the healthcare. Every time somebody gets screwed out of a claim, every time they try to duck a bill, I'm hanging on their ass. But I'm not going to shoot anybody. According to what I saw this morning about that guy's biography, his father worked a regular job. Just a regular working guy. Midwestern working guy. He went to public school. He went to college. He worked his way up through the hierarchy in the healthcare industry. And he's the CEO. But the Democrats conveniently forget who's responsible for this shit. Barack Hussein Obama. Remember how Barack Hussein Obama was going to fix the health care with Obamacare? Well, this is the result. And we have more problems with the healthcare system than ever before. Why? Because of government bureaucracy and healthcare bureaucracies. So, you know, but you don't get to shoot people just for that. I mean, unfortunately, we have an entire segment of this country who now thinks it's totally justified to kill anybody you disagree with. And I'll tell you what, if we got to do that, none of them would be left because there are more of us than there are of them.
I don't think it's right for anyone to die.
Yeah.
In the manner that this gentleman died. Okay. I don't think that, especially because this guy was shot in the back. Okay. Yeah. To me, that's just ridiculous. I mean, that was
he was like you said, he was a community activist. He you know, he was in Special Olympics and things like that. But you know something, look, some of us have relatives we have no use for, and we don't have the luxury of shooting them. So you just avoid people. Listen, you don't like United Healthcare? Don't get a policy through them. You need health insurance, so you have to try to do the best you can. So what can we do now? They're all raging that Trump wants to get in and eliminate the bureaucracy that causes all these problems. But they can't have their cake and eat it too. You can't get to shoot everybody you dislike without identifying the problem, which is the bureaucracy, and then rage against the person who wants to eliminate the cause of the bureaucracy. These
the
people
interesting
are
thing,
nuts. They make no logical sense.
The interesting thing was that right after this, Luigi Manangio was taken into custody, they already started with the hashtag Free Luigi.
Yeah.
Okay, they want him freed because they believe what he did was justified, and it wasn't justified, and it could never be justified. And I understand. I mean, I saw a picture of an X-ray of what supposedly happened to him and what he had to go through, and I understand that he was in a lot of pain, and his chief complaint was that the pain was so intense that he couldn't even have sex. Okay, I understand people have those problems. Okay, but it's not a reason to kill somebody. Plus, Luigi went to Hawaii, San Francisco, Maryland. He came from a high-end all-boys school.
Very rich. Rich and entitled.
Very, very rich. Comes from a very rich family. They own nursing homes, country clubs. They got it all. This kid was brought up with a silver spoon in his ass. Okay? He was smart. He graduated college. He graduated valedictorian of high school.
Ivy League school.
What?
Ivy League school, too.
An Ivy League school, exactly.
Yeah. Rich and entitled, a person they would normally vilify, but now they're making him into a hero.
Right, right.
They're making him into a hero, and now they're even going to the point where now they're going, oh, look, he's a hunk, and you got these other idiots that write letters to jailhouse murderers. We got a lot of crazy people in this world. You can't kill people. He could have sued the company. If they were that remiss, why didn't he sue the company? There's something wrong with the kid, obviously. He had disappeared from his family for 6 months. His family couldn't contact him. So these mental defectives get to become heroes when they do something that's egregious. It's hard to understand what kind of brain thinks that you can just kill anybody. Look, I fought a claim for myself. I fight claims for it, and you know that, CJ. This thing's gone on for about 8 or 9 months. I filed appeal after appeal after appeal. They kept saying, they coded it wrong. I was wrong, but I'm not going to give up. I'm not going to go shoot them. I kept filing appeal after appeal after appeal, and I took on the companies, and ultimately I got a letter in yesterday, ironically enough, that they finally caved. I aggravated them enough to where they finally croaked. I pointed out to them that it was not my fault. I was not responsible for that bill. It was either the doctor or the lab who made an error, and you should subrogate them, and I was going to take them to court. That was the next step. I wasn't going to shoot them. I wasn't going to bludgeon them to death, and this is the whole thing. People who preach this kind of stuff to go out and kill people that disagree with you, and you can't figure out that there's something wrong with these people in society. We've got a problem in this society when it gets to this point where we have not a small lunatic fringe, but we have literally thousands of these people. They call themselves progressives that believe in murdering people who disagree with them. Not just saying, okay, I don't like your politics. I'll fight against your politics, and I won't socialize with you. You don't want to go to Thanksgiving dinner? Fine. You don't want to celebrate Christmas? Fine. You don't want to speak to me except in a business setting? Fine. I have hundreds of people that I have to deal with on a professional level that I would not ever speak to socially. But I don't get to kill them all. So, I mean, it's, you got to chuckle to stop from crying, because I don't know how this society can condone this, and how the Democratic Party especially can have people who not only condone it, but they encourage it.
Yeah, it's we're living in a crazy world right now, and nothing seems to be going right. And on January 20th, we're going to have a whole new government, and maybe we'll finally get some common sense out of things. I want to thank you all for watching. On Friday, we will have Colin Dias, I hope. I'm going to send him a link to the show. And hopefully we'll have him on and we'll discuss some more of these issues. He sent me some emails that I've already started to look over. And I'll tell you now, it's going to be interesting. Thanks for watching. Have a great day and try to stay dry out there. Bye-bye.